The Maya civilization is one of the most advanced, intriguing, and mysterious civilizations this planet has ever known. Sometimes known as the ancient Greeks of the Americas. The Maya city-states thrived for centuries with their incredible skills in mathematics, astronomy, and so much more. One of those intriguing parts of their culture was their practice of human sacrifice. Not unique to the Maya, of course, human sacrifice was a feature of Mayan worship. Interestingly, though, we didn't know the Maya even practiced this until written codices started to be translated around the 1950s. Then, the evidence started pouring in. Now, beside it taking centuries to translate, one of the major reasons we've known so little about human sacrifice practiced in Maya society is because so many records were destroyed. However, this wasn't just because of Spanish conquistadors destroying records, which they were well known for doing. The Maya civilization collapsed centuries before the Spanish arrival. Many records were in fact destroyed by the Aztec Empire, who sought to depict themselves as the rulers of the region. The destruction was so successful that today only 4 Maya books have survived. However, not all history is learned through writing. Almost 60 years ago, archaeologists discovered a cache of bones in an underground cavern at Chichen Itza, one of the most powerful cities of the ancient Maya, and one of the most famous Maya sites today. A cistern connected to a cave about 200 feet away from the sacred cenote, a water-filled sinkhole, was filled with the remains of hundreds of sacrificial victims. When the discovery was made in Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula in 1967, archaeologists determined that young adults and children had been placed here over a period of 800 years. It was assumed that most of those victims were young women, because at that time it was thought that the Maya preferred female victims of their ritual sacrifice. However, a new DNA study has challenged this assumption by revealing that all 64 sets of remains were male. In fact, many of them were brothers and cousins between the ages of 3 and 6, and there were a surprising number of twins. In the journal Nature, archaeogeneticist Rodrigo Barquera of the Max Planck Institute of Evolutionary Anthropology in Germany said, "We were not expecting this to be the case. Traditionally, these kinds of burials are associated with Mesoamerican archaeology with fertility offerings, and fertility offerings usually feature females only." Recently, Barquera and his co-researchers have taken another look at those remains that were uncovered in 1967. Their new analysis suggests that the location was used for over 100 burials between the years of 500 to 1300 CE. Now, most of the people were buried before the 900s, around the time Chichen Itza was the dominant city of the north. Earlier studies had revealed that most of the victims were toddlers and young children, but this was the first time their DNA had been analyzed. With this, they had learned that it was only boys in that cave, and it was to the surprise of researchers to see that so many were closely related. At least a quarter of the victims were a brother or a cousin of another victim found at the site. And the burials included 2 sets of identical twins. With identical twins only occurring in 0.4% of births, finding 2 pairs among the 64 burials is incredibly high. Twins feature heavily in Mesoamerican mythology. In fact, they are a central theme in the foundational text, the Popol Vuh, which is a sacred narrative of the Maya people thought to date from the earliest stages of Maya civilization. According to the Popol Vuh, a set of twins descended into the underworld to play a ball game, but were sacrificed by the gods after they lost. Despite his death, the head of one of those twins impregnated a girl who then went on to avenge the death of her father through repeated cycles of sacrifice and resurrection. Now, we don't know how widespread human sacrifice was, but it now seems that the Maya mainly practiced it in the latter years of their civilization. They did this to seek favor from the gods of fertility for their crops, or for victory in war. With these new findings, this study has provided more questions for archaeologists to answer. The first is the causes of the death, because there are no man-made marks on the bones of the victims. Barquera said, "We couldn't find any cut marks or any lesions that would point to specific methods of sacrifice. This indicates that the sacrifice did not involve, for example, heart extraction or decapitation. So maybe it was a different kind of sacrificial method." Another thing that further DNA analysis could uncover is if any of these child sacrifices were part of multiple generations from certain families. The new analysis also included analyzing the blood of Maya descendants living today. Results show a genetic continuity with those people today with those victims of the past. This leads Barquera to believe that the victims came from local communities rather than from across long distances across the Maya civilization. The researchers also saw distinctive differences between the ancient and modern people when it comes to immunity to diseases. This suggests that the local Maya today have adapted to certain infectious diseases, which was was introduced during the Spanish period. Diseases brought over by the Spanish led to the death of up to 90% of indigenous populations in the Americas. This was due to the indigenous people never having interaction before with those diseases. Today's indigenous people are descendants of those lucky few that had immune systems strong enough to defend against those European diseases. It's important to note that learning about the ancient Maya civilization is still a very new field of study. Massive questions still remain. This includes the biggest question of all that is yet to be answered. What happened to the Maya civilization? We still don't know why they abandoned their cities around 1000 CE. We don't know what led to the decline of this once mighty civilization. Will you be among those that enter this field seeking those answers? Well, if you do find them, don't forget to mention Mr. Terry in your acceptance speech of your Nobel Prize. So what do you think about these recent findings? Let me know down below.